What's up, guys? It's TGIF. It is Friday, the 22nd of January. So we drop members only for the public. If you're interested in like a little bit more about what it is we do over here, it's a great video to watch. I completely understand not everybody has an hour in their day to watch a long DFS video. So we're going to hit up top picks for the day. Some of you guys might have lives. I guess I don't, but I'm sure some of y'all might have stuff to do during the day.
It's funny, when we were making that members only video, I thought, it's like, man, at some points during it, I was like, we're going pretty fast through this. And it's still over an hour.
It's tough on a big slate like this. It's tough to get it done too quickly, especially a slate like this where there's a ton of good plays. And with Kevin Durant out now officially, like there's even more good plays on the slate. So a lot to like, including a guy that you're now joining me on the fan club of. As you can see, cover boy Jeremy Grant right here. We'll get into momentarily. Guys, we signed this deal with Drafters to feature them twice a week. They did not technically, we did not want to do Fridays, but hey, the slide's still up. Let's bring them up. Specifically, the link to the Facebook group below. Join that group so we can do Drafters drafts and we can do all these daily snake drafts for NBA.
Yeah, I know that, one thing that we love about Drafters is how much we actually really enjoy playing on it. So we might bring it up every day. Who knows?
All right, guys. Current 5-pack promotions today is real simple. We do the lifetime package. It's typically $400. It's everything, all 3 sports, permanently forever. No future payments. Won't add anything to it. However, for today, for Friday, coming off a nice day of NBA DFS, this is about as good of a lifetime deal as there ever is out there. And I'm even going to double it up on the 4th bullet point, how it can be even better. It's $275 today. There's a Venmo address. There's a PayPal address below. That's a one-time payment for every video and every write-up we do for all 3 sports. That's a $125 discount. That is a major savings. The flip side of that, I will extend an offer to NBA customers today as well. A $200 price for people who paid for the NBA package, and you can be a lifetime customer forever. If you've enjoyed the start to the season, this is about as good of a deal as you can possibly get for no future payments ever. Lifetime customers get every sport. Day passes are up. Sub to the station if you're new to it. Stick with the typical format. And let's start out with the cash lock of the day, which is DeMarcus Cousins. Look, this dude is projected to be major chalk today, and I see absolutely no reason he won't be major chalk today. With the announcement late yesterday of Christian Wood being out for the day, they already announced that he is starting. He's a big-name guy. He's been 10K years ago. You got a great matchup against a Detroit team that can't guard big guys. He warrants and deserves all 90% of his ownership in cash games today because he's too cheap in a great spot, and he still is very DFS capable. However, I thought about skipping him today because it was so obvious, and I didn't feel like we were giving you guys a huge benefit. But I wanted to take a minute with you, Mr. Bellman, and discuss the idea of the GPP fade right here. Do you personally, and I know we discussed this on members only, find any viability in the GPP fade?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I didn't really find much in it until we started really talking about it and diving in our members only video. On the surface, seems like a lock. If you're only making one lineup, man, it's really, really hard to get away from him. The merit to the fade, though, just comes down to the fact that he hasn't played very well. He's got the one, big game when he started against Indiana, and then he's got another like 30 spot in the game after that. But, he doesn't play massive minutes, but he's played, 15, 16, 17 minutes the past 3 games and doesn't even have 20 DK points. So whenever you're looking at a game log like that, I think there's merit to fade. What's your take in tournaments?
So I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit further. And I do want to start by saying he's going to be in my main lineup. So if you're a one lineup player, I think it's a bad move not to play him. However, if you're looking for the jump on a field on a massive slate like this, and there's a lot of good plays. So we're going to bring up a guy for your GPP player who's going to be really chalky and deserves to be. Just because a guy's popular doesn't mean he's a bad GPP player. If you ball, you ball. You know what I mean? Like Cousins can be a great GPP play tonight, even at 85% ownership, because if he throws up 35, that's great return on value at $4,400. What I wanted to discuss is the fact that without James Harden there, they've played a little bit, and without John Wall, the offense has been a little bit different. If you're watching the Rockets play right now, DeMarcus Cousins looks like Blake Griffin. He sits on the 3-point line, shoots threes, doesn't get down to the block, doesn't, take guys ISO or anything like that. He really just looks like a glorified stretch 4. Now, that could change tonight. They might come into tonight with a brand new game plan. It's a crush spot against Detroit. And I wouldn't be surprised if DeMarcus Cousins replicates all 40 DFS points he gets up against Indiana. But I do think that it's also possible that's just who he is for this team. He runs his time separate to Christian Wood, so they spend very little time on the floor together. When he's out there and it's just him, he has not been very active since James Harden left. I think it's very possible he comes in tonight with 20 DK points. It isn't anything special. Again, I'm going to play him in cash games. If you're a cash game player, take the free square and move on. If you want to fade him, go live it up in GPPs with Professor Bellman over there. Outside of that, I do think it's possible, and I will probably fade him in one GPP tonight.
Yeah, same. I mean, when we talk about this, when you look at it, like, again, on the surface, he looks like the lock of all locks. And I'm not saying he's not the lock of all locks, but when you dive deeper, I feel like when you start to pull back the layers, he's really only that lock because his name is DeMarcus Cousins and what he used to be.
Yeah. And again, when I say fade him in one GPP, I play usually 3. So I'm going to take a risk in one, but know the risk because he's going to be insanely high owned. And if he goes for 35 here, unless you absolutely nut your other pick, like you're kind of SOL in this spot.
For sure.
All right, so let's move on. Same team, different player. The young man by the name of Vic Oladipo, who is your GPP guy, but I want to be very, very, very clear on this one. I like him a lot too. So as far as cash game players go, I think he should be shortlisted for you guys as well. I just think he's a crush play tonight. I don't care if he's 99% owned or 1% owned. I just think he's a really, really good play.
Yeah, we like Oladipo a lot here. I figured you'd get on board. We're both just big Oladipo fans. I've liked him, this new role with the Rockets. He's not playing with Sabonis. He's not playing with Brogdon. With John Wall out and now Christian Woods, Shaq would like to say, not playing. It's Oladipo's team in a really good spot against Detroit. I love Houston to get their first win under Oladipo today. And again, we've seen Detroit recently. We just saw that Detroit and Atlanta game. Big upside, and I like Oladipo a lot here, man.
Mason Plumlee is not a plus defender, and you're like, well, who cares? Victor Oladipo's a guard. However, he's a guard that can get to the hoop as well. So I think that's another plus for him. The taking out of Christian Wood, because even if Cousins plays well, Cousins is playing well in like 24 minutes probably, right? Like if he plays really, really well. He's not playing well for 35 minutes like Christian Wood. So that leaves, 10, maybe 15 minutes on the floor where it's Victor Oladipo and Eric Gordon is the only plus offensive players on this team. And then David Nwaba, Jayshawn Tate, guys like that, who maybe you don't think they're awful, but they're below average NBA players, which means it's Victor Oladipo and Eric Gordon. I like Depot a lot. Cash games, GPPs, year-long, tiers. I don't care, man. I just think he's a really, really good play tonight. And that's the kind of play that, I don't know, I liked LeBron a lot last night. I played him in all my lineups. I like Victor Oladipo a lot tonight. I don't know exactly what his ownership is. I don't even care because I just think he's going to smash.
Yeah, I agree.
So, next up, Matt, it's a couple days later, but I want to welcome you to the Jeremy Grant fan club. So,
it feels weird.
Doesn't it?
It feels weird now. It really does.
Well, so I brought him up on the show last Saturday, and he was nice enough to make me look good that day because he had a really, really good day. This is now 42-plus DraftKings points in 6 of the past 7 games. He's in a good spot against Houston. And if you were watching the Pistons-Hawks game the other day, I want to say he's been the highest scorer on the Pistons 11 games in a row or something like that. He does enough of everything, 6 rebounds a game. His assists have done nothing but increase. Excuse me. He had a good game last game without any blocks or steals, which, he's very capable of adding a couple of those in. We like this game a lot. We like it so much, I had to switch up my long shot pick next because it was also from this game, and I don't want to only pound this game.
Yeah. Man, I'm with you again. It seems like we're agreeing too much today, although we kind of knew that would happen because we like these same guys tonight. Again, it feels very weird to be on the Jeremy Grant fan club now or to be part of it, but listen, it is what it is at this point. As you mentioned, 42-plus and 6 to 7. He's just balling. I know it's almost the opposite of what I said about DeMarcus Cousins. When I think of the name Jeremy Grant, I don't think about these games and numbers like this. I have to get that out of my head because he's a new guy.
A new role more than anything, because he played for the Thunder for a couple years with Russell Westbrook. You're not going to get big looks. You're just not. And then last year he played for the Denver Nuggets, who have one of the game's top players in Jokic. They also have, a guy who can scoot and boogie on anybody in Murray. We have Will Barton, even guys like Michael Porter Jr. and Paul Millsap coming on, from time to time. And he just didn't have a great offensive role. He's the best player on the Pistons right now. And, you kind of hinted at it. I had to do the same thing. I just happened to do it 6 days ago where I had to be like, okay, I get it. He is that dude for Detroit this year. He's their best player. He's got a huge role on him every single day. His minutes are exactly the same every single day as long as the game is semi-competitive. And even though Detroit sucks and can't win games, they do stick around in most games. So I do want to give him credit for that. It's not like Houston's a great team, so I think this game is going to be competitive.
Detroit's
Maybe this is just who he is.
I mean, Detroit's favored tonight. And maybe this is just who he is right now. I'll probably never be able to wrap my head around it. It's one of those things where, I agree with you. The opportunity was never there before. So this would not be showing if he didn't have this opportunity now. However, I still never thought he'd be able to do this even with the opportunity. It's almost like, again, maybe this comparison isn't perfect, but if you told me next year, Chetty was going to be the best player on his team and have numbers like this. I don't care if Chetty was the best player on a high school team. I don't think he'd have numbers like this. You know what I mean?
Right. And maybe, excuse me. And I think that's a hard thing to do in DFS or fantasy just in general, is admit that maybe, I don't know, you just didn't realize how good a player was and change your opinion on somebody. It is hard, especially if you're stubborn. I am. I know you are. Especially if you're stubborn, to admit that maybe a player is better than you thought they were. Maybe their role is better with a team than you thought it was going to be. Because I do a lot of my year-long fantasy leagues on ESPN. And when I saw where they had them ranked, because I usually think projections on year-long sites are not as good as what your average DFS player can come up with. And ESPN was right. I was wrong. He's been awesome.
Yeah, he's been really, really good, and props to him. And I don't see it slowing down tonight.
No, not tonight. Maybe not even this year. They don't have any better players. So, who else is going to be their best player?
For sure.
Unless they get that time machine and Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose go back 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I had a long shot from that game that I liked as well. It's all on the members only video, but I want to bring up somebody different. And I want to talk it through because as much as people want things to be black and white, that's not the way the world works. And it's definitely not the way that NBA DFS works throughout the day when things change, for example. Your ownership projections in the morning, if you follow that stuff closely, just aren't going to be the same as they are in the afternoon. So we talked about Daniel Gafford of the Chicago Bulls for a while this morning and why he might be an intriguing play tonight. So I looked him up on the Awesemo website, and, as of a half hour ago, he's projected at 0.1% ownership. Quite frankly, once Wendell Carter is ruled out, which seems all but going to happen, and if Daniel Gafford is inserted into the starting lineup, he ain't going to be 0.1%. He's going to be, 15, 20, 25%. Cousins will eat a lot of the center ownership tonight. So every other center is going to be lower owned than they would traditionally be. But if a guy at 3,100 in a high total game is starting at center, he's going to get some love. And I also want to talk about Daniel Gafford, who is a guy I know you're kind of a fan of. Maybe not you realize he's not, Wilt Chamberlain in his prime, but you kind of like him a little bit. Over his last 10 games, he's played 139 minutes for the Chicago Bulls. In that time, he's gone for 135 DraftKings points, making him essentially a 1 point per minute player. Well, if he's starting tonight, it gives me a little bit more confidence that he could play 20, 25 minutes this evening. I don't think he's going to play 38 minutes or 40 or anything like that. But if you told me a 3,100 center against Charlotte was going to play 20 to 25 minutes, it is possible, not probable, but possible he scores the same as Cousins at over $1,000 less.
It's possible he outscores Cousins. If he's in that starting role, definitely much more speculative, much more skeptical, if he's coming off the bench. I am worried about this game getting a little small, which we talked about on our members only. Like you mentioned, though, man, if he's starting at 3,100, this is a guy right now. He's not DeMarcus Cousins in his prime, obviously, but as these guys are right now, he probably walks into DFS points faster. DeMarcus Cousins, as you mentioned, isn't by the hoop as much. He stands out by the 3-point line a ton. Gafford's one of these guys that blocks a lot of shots. He's got big bounce. If he plays, like you just mentioned, 25 minutes against Charlotte, there's no reason he can't 10x here. And at 3,100, he looks like one of, if not the top value play on the slate. And I don't know what his ownership will be if and when Carter gets rolled out, because like you mentioned, Cousins going to eat so much of that center ownership. People are really hesitant to use two center positions like that. I'm interested to see what it will be.
Yeah, for sure. And again, if he's starting, don't even think he's anywhere close to 0.1%. This turns into more of he could be the second highest owned center on the slate potentially, but still significantly lower owned than DeMarcus Cousins, who's been on everybody's short list for darn near 24 hours now.
Amen.
So take it for what it's worth. If he's coming off the bench, he's going to be about 0.1% tonight. And it doesn't mean that he can't come in at the end of the first quarter if they decide to play a little bit bigger, play well, and get extended run at literally almost no ownership, though. So it's a layered conversation. You know, there's different ways to look at it. It's not as cut and dry as a DeMarcus Cousins play, but I thought it'd be an intriguing thing to talk over with a little bit more depth.
If Gafford's not starting, I highly doubt I could get there in one lineup.
Oh, God, yes, absolutely not.
But if I'm making a couple, I mean, especially if I'm making like a bunch, he's definitely making a guest appearance because he's 3,100 and he's got big upside at that price.
And Zeller is back tonight. You said you weren't as convinced that Biyombo would be out of the rotation. Okay, well, what if Zeller and Biyombo are out there the whole game and they do play bigger? Well, you might need a little size because as much as I like Lauri Markkanen, I mean, he plays like a perimeter player.
So true.
So, all right, man, let's move over to the next one. Before I let you talk about your long shot of the day, I did a little pros and cons list about Jalen McDaniels today. It's kind of an idea of, you know, what you would be looking at. So pros. It's a great DFS game, right? Minnesota versus Atlanta. We just saw this game the other day. It was awesome for DFS points. Yeah, the point total wasn't that high, but the blocks, the steals, the turnovers, blah, 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 it was there. There was DFS points for a lot of different dudes in this one. No Wancho, no Cat tonight. So they are already a little bit decimated when it comes to big men for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We've seen Naz Reid go back and forth from getting good run to not. We've seen Ed Davis in and out of the lineup. So it's Minnesota might not even know what they want to do tonight. Another pro, I love the idea of a cheap power forward tonight. I got high-priced guards that are priorities for me. And the only real con is I have absolutely no idea what his minutes are going to be. I forgot because I didn't watch this game that closely. Vanderbilt only played 18 minutes, and I saw that he had 4 fouls. Did he happen to pick up quick ones last game, if you recall?
I do not recall. I do know that his offense or lack thereof was hurting Minnesota, and McDaniels is an offensive threat, which is why I'm thinking that he might begin to see more minutes. It was his first run. McDaniels was a highly touted prospect coming out of Washington, only played 1 year in college. And again, he showed a lot in his first real playing time of the season last time out. You mentioned it. I mean, there's no guarantee of anything here. And I still have Kenrich Williams nightmares, you know, especially thinking about a 3,500 guy that might not get run. However, he just walked into 30 DK points in 26 minutes. He's a guy, as I mentioned, he's got a good offensive game. He's lanky. He's got bounce. He walks into DFS points. And
he can hit the three.
He can hit the three. We don't know if he's going to get minutes here, but he played really well last time out. Minnesota played their best game in what seems like years. I struggle to see them not giving him good run here, especially because, like you mentioned, they don't even know what they have going. They're trying to see what these young pieces are. McDaniels might be something for them. And a game that I think is competitive, doesn't really matter for McDaniels' case. I think he's worth taking a shot on at 3,500.
I also love a cheap power forward tonight. I really, really do, because there are awesome plays at the guard position tonight for big money, especially with Kevin Durant being out. The upper end and the upper tier guard plays tonight are in crush spots. There's a couple guys in this game at the guard positions that are good plays I might not even be able to get to because there's so many good upper price guard plays. So if you are a riskier GPP player, which I know a lot of you guys are, this is a guy you can target. But, you know, with such is the case with long shots, know what it is. It's a long shot. Minnesota right now may have no actual structure or plan for how they're going to rotate big men tonight. I'm sure you'll probably see Vanderbilt, Naz Reid, but like they've fallen in and out of love with Naz Reid like 33 times already this year. So it's possible he's out there for 30 minutes tonight or 3 minutes. The same thing's going to go with Vanderbilt, who, some days he comes off the bench and he's an instant spark plug. Other days he picks up 2 quick fouls and he's out of there. So, we're taking a little bit of a chance, but he's a $3,500 power forward and he's a long shot for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. Interesting. If I sat here and claimed to know exactly what Minnesota was going to do tonight, I'd be lying. But you've got a guy, again, under 4K, right in the middle between 3 and 4K. I haven't heard his name being talked about much at all. And I do feel like this is the type of guy where if he has one more big game, he's going to be chalk on the next slate.
So that's a good point, and it's something else that I want to address when it comes to strategizing for building lineups. And that is the simple fact that, I don't know, you don't have to be that different to be successful. You can win GPPs with really chalky players. Victor Oladipo is a guy that we both like a ton tonight. He's going to have plenty of love.
You're going to need some chalky players to win tournaments. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Victor Oladipo, Jeremy Grant, those guys are both going to have double-digit owner percentage next to them. You're not getting them at 1% or anything like that, but you can have one play at 3%, and literally the rest of your guys can have double digits. I have a stack of GPP winning lineups saved on my computer, and I've looked through them a bunch of different times, and without trying to be different, just somebody you like on the day's different naturally, especially on a game on a slate this size. You don't have to go out of your way to pick somebody just because you think that they're going to be really, really low owned, but you like Jalen McDaniels. He's going to be low owned. That could be your one dude. And if he balls, I don't care if Victor Oladipo's 99% because I think he's going to ball.
Yeah, chalk. And again, I'm the biggest proponent of getting away from especially bad chalk as there is, but guys are popular for a reason. Chalk usually succeeds because, they're in the better spots. So you have to pick your spots, and these are the type of plays I really, get excited about. A guy that has big upside, is really cheap, that just isn't getting talked about yet because people don't know who he is.
Well, and then also take a look at who you are as a DFS player. How many lineups do you set? If you play one lineup and you're banking on Jaden McDaniels tonight, that's up to you. You play that, but just know that there's a good chance that he ruins your lineup. However, if you play 10 lineups, you want to sprinkle him in a couple of times, that's the kind of guy that if he goes off, now those 2-3 lineups, if you get your core plays right, are live. And you got a big bump up on the crowd without being significantly, you're not being too risky right there. You know what I mean? Because you have other 6, 7, 8 lineups that can definitely show up in the money if one of your longer shot plays don't work out.
For sure. No doubt about it.
You're not sitting at big fat zeros. It sucks looking at zeros at the end of the night. We've all been there, but really ponder how it is you put your lineups together. There's more than anything I wanted to discuss.
I just struggle, man. Again, he played 26 minutes last game. I think he's going to get some run today. It doesn't mean he's going to be productive, but I'll be shocked if he gets a DNP coach decision here.
Yeah, that's why when so the goal is always to build a good core of players. Easier said than done, but I think everybody who plays multiple lineups, or even if you just play one line, the goal is to build a really, really good core of players. And I like to build my core players with guys I trust, Jeremy Grant, Victor Oladipo types, even if it's DeMarcus Cousins, for example, because I know that they will do well. But then in my other spots, that's where I like guys like this, because not everybody has them. And if they play really, really well, that's your lineup that's charging up the GPPs at the end of the night.
I mean, you look at guys under 4K that have the potential 10x upside. Most guys like that, I'm not saying he's going to 10x, get a good amount of ownership. I'm not seeing that here. And I think it's just because he's unknown.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Thought we'd have a little fun, talk over lineup construction for a little bit. I field plenty of questions on those, throughout the days, as I'm sure you do too. And I cannot reiterate it enough. You have to know what your goals are as a DFS player, how you want to play, because the way I play and you play are differently. Just like almost every one of our paying customers is going to play a little bit differently than our other paying customers. So it's difficult to describe why it is that you want to do it. I know something that you're good at is you like to play more long shot plays than the normal person, But you don't like change your mind 2 days later just because the last 2 days sucked because the long shots were long shots for a reason, then just run away from it and then try to play chalkier guys and then go back to long shots. You kind of stick with your process.
You have to. You got to trust the process. And if your process isn't working, change it. But you can't flip-flop like that. It will never work.
Right, because then the next day, when your long shot that you didn't play because you lost your guts that day goes off, then you're going to be mad and then you're going to chase it. Like, be able to take the ups and downs that go along with it and just know what your goals of what it is that you are trying to accomplish. If you're out here just trying to have fun, understand that. If you're trying to be a professional DFS player, then you're going to have to put more work into it.
No doubt.
So, all right, guys, that's it. Tangent off for a little bit. It's okay because we get to talk DFS for a little while. Best of luck tonight, and we will holler at you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.